Hello, and welcome to another episode of Intune.training, the place to learn how to use Microsoft Intune, the Steve and Adam Show with Ben, the intern. Hey, boys.
Hey,
Hi,
Adam.
Adam.
How are you?
Happy Saturday morning, Friday night,
Happy
Happy
Friday.
Friday.
party time.
Exactly.
All right, well, we are here with another exciting installment of all the random things you didn't know you needed to know about Intune and things you can do in there. And once again, Steve and we're just really letting Ben kind of just take over. He's just very excited and enthusiastic, and he's got all these wonderful ideas. And so here we go. He's got another one for us. So yeah, what the heck? Take it away, Ben.
Excellent. So this is more just like lessons from the field. The last couple of weeks, I've had the same question asked to me, or the same problem raised by multiple clients. And I just sort of figured that, just because we know how to do this stuff doesn't mean everyone else does. So the big thing that I'm getting from a lot of people is they've started really pushing out the new Edge. What are we calling that? Edge Chromium, Credge, Nedge, New Edge. Anyway, there's a million different Nedge.
I've not heard Nedge yet.
Yeah. I've heard lots of different terms for it. But anyway, so everyone's pushing out the new Chromium Edge, and they are having difficulty configuring it to do the things that they want to do. And one of the biggest ones is, how do I change the default search engine to Google, which is just what they want to use, right? Because previously they were, they had Internet Explorer on the machines, but they were pushing out Chrome because the end users just liked the experience of Chrome. That comes by default with Google search. So they just want to emulate that, but then also have the benefits of the whole Microsoft stack in Edge. Totally fair question.
I mean, that makes sense. Let's use all of the Microsoft stack, but then use Google to search for things.
Exactly.
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, I get clients come back to me and like, look, I set up the policies and it's just not applying. I don't know how to do the search stuff. Can you help? So I just sort of figured I would go through and just show you how simple it is to do it now, as opposed to what it used to be. And we'll it'll just be a nice, quick and dirty video.
And you will have probably, if you've been watching long enough, Steve and I attempted to, we did the deploy and configure the new Edge browser in episode 25 in January. But a lot has changed with Edge since that initially happened. We were riding that wave of newness of Edge and said, hey, it's in Intune, let's do it. Everybody wants to know how to get started with it and start playing. And as is the case with pretty much every video that we've got, they are obsolete already. And you get an idea, but if you go in and everything is different on so many things. I was just looking back through some older content. And so anyway, if you've already watched how to do Edge, well, keep watching because it's different now. And there's more things, more features. So let's revisit and see what it's like.
Excellent. All right. So I will share my screen. I think I've got everything set up. Cool. It's very exciting. Let me move Adam's face away.
Hey, look, we have device compliance issues. We probably should fix those one day, guys.
Just raise a ticket, Steve.
And the intern will fix it.
I'll get one of our senior engineers to look into it for you. All right, so we're just going to pop into, so obviously, again, we're in the endpoint portal. We're just going to go into devices.
/MeMac.
/MeMac, yeah. And we're going to, firstly, I just want to go into configuration profiles and show you what most people think they need to do, which is the first problem, I guess. So they go into create profile. It's not a problem.
Experience.
Exactly. And look, on paper, at first blush, it sort of makes sense why you would go there. Okay, so we're creating a new profile. We're going to go into platform, obviously select Windows 10 later. And here we're going to go into, is it even in here anymore?
But it's part of the
go back out.
I believe.
Device restrictions, right?
Yeah, because it's not its own policy.
Yeah.
Win 10. 4 characters.
Cool. And then we just go into Edge browser. So this, to most people, seems like the logical place that you would go in, and you don't really have a lot of control. So they start going, hang on, what's going on here? Why do I have Edge kiosk mode as my first major thing? You've got some start experience stuff, and basically what I've found is that I'm getting a lot of people coming back to me saying that we've set all this up and it's just not applying. Why doesn't it work? What is this rubbish that you've sold us on? And then I just need to go and show them the correct way. So first rule,
and the reason why
wrong.
this is going to set the legacy version of Edge, not the new Edge Chromium.
That's correct. So to do the new Edge, Nedge, Credge, we're going to go into Edge Chromium. All right.
No, we're just setting the Edge policies, not to be confused with the Edge policies.
Exactly. Yeah. We're talking about Edge, not Edge. We're going to create a profile, Windows 10, and we're going to go into administrative templates. So this is an ADMX backed policy that we're going to do. And we're going to Win 10.
What's up with
Edge?
The dashes?
Yeah, there's supposed to be spaces in between before and after the dashes.
Underscores.
Like that?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. That'll work.
All right.
No, so it's not quite right because you need to have like #1 at the front of it. So it's always the first in the list.
The I mean, come on. Yeah, put the tilde at least or something. So it always bumps your stuff to the top.
No, right at the start.
There you go. Oh, that's more is better. Yeah, that's gonna be good when you go to script it. Let's see how that works. Oh, please valid characters, please. Oh.
All right. So we're in administrative templates. So we've obviously got access to basically a very large selection of policies that we want, but we really just want Edge. Now, the first thing I'll say, I'm not getting into every setting that is available here because that's a huge conversation. I really just want to go down to that default, like, let's set a homepage and let's set the search engine. All of the myriad of like security stuff, that's huge. And, you've probably got your own settings there somewhere for it. But the key thing I want to talk about before we get into setting things up is the difference here between default settings and this one. So the default settings means that you set the baseline for how your browser looks and responds, and you give the users the ability to change that if they want. I think it's really cool that that's a thing that we can now do, but be aware that if you set everything up here, the end users can change that. So don't set security things in here. Just set things like if you don't mind that your end users change their homepage, which I really have no problem with, set it up here.
If you don't mind the users choosing their search engine because they may want to use Yahoo or Alta Vista.
Yeah, exactly. Or what is it? DuckDuckGo or Alta Vista or Ask Jeeves. Exactly. So, just understand that this default settings means that the users can change it afterwards. So don't be upset when all of a sudden the homepage is not what you've set. Just understand that you've done the default settings.
So the other thing that I want to call out there, Ben, is the Microsoft Edge update.
Yeah.
So if you click on that, this is important too. This is super important because if we go in here and we look at applications, we have the ability now to set policies for the other branches of Edge. So you can sit there and explicitly say, well, I want this version instead of that version for the end user. So it's there for a very good reason. From that updating point of view, you can have that side-by-side experience. Oh, that's nice.
This stops that painful problem of the Edge icon constantly duplicating on your desktop.
When you're using OneDrive, known folder move.
Yes, known folder migration.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah, it's okay. I'll let it slide on that one. Computer configuration. All right, so we're just going to go into Microsoft Edge.
Why don't you zoom in a little bit more in your browser, because I've noticed that they've not really been as zoomy as they could be in the final product for us recently.
That's cool. That's cool. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. The other thing that I'd ask before we go through here, Ben, is what's the difference between doing user and computer policy at this point?
It literally defines where it sits in the policy hive in the registry. So ADMX backed policies, I'm sure we've said this to death, ADMX backed policies are basically the modern answer to group policy. And for anyone with experience with group policy, you should know by now that there was computer targeted policies and user targeted policies, and it's the same deal. So it's just around where it sits in the hive. So a computer policy is for any user that's on the machine, and a user policy is specific to that user. So if you were in a kiosk scenario, for example, and for some reason you wanted multiple users, or no, a shared device, but certain users would have different policies, you'd have to make sure that you deployed it to user. Alternatively, if you just wanted a blanket set of configurations for all users, you just push it out to computer policy and it will get stored there. Now, the interesting thing about this is that if you set computer configuration ADMX backed policy rules and deploy it to users, it still goes to the computer hive.
Yes.
The deployment SKU or mechanism is only dictating how it gets to the device. So does it go to
Well, that was the same with group policy. So long as the user and computer objects had permission to the policy, you could target it to a user or a computer and reply vice versa.
And that's how we used to do those sneaky little that's how we did that loopback sneaky stuff to do what we wanted. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So it's worth to it is a good idea to point that out. So as a rule, I haven't run into a scenario where people want specific customizations between like departments or anything. So I just err on the side of doing it to computer and just being done with it.
Cool.
Okay, so what are we doing? I can't even remember. Let me
Edge something.
Edge.
So Steve took down the tangent of Edge updates, but we were just setting your default search provider.
Default search provider. Cool. So we have this folder here called default search provider. That might be what we're after. Maybe. Now, this has changed dramatically for the better compared to a couple of months ago when I needed to do this. Is it worth going through and just sort of showing the information that we need to create the default search keys on a machine? Yeah.
If it's not easy to get access to, yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, so let's go into settings. Now, let's see.
Definitely got to zoom this.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you move out of profiles?
Appearance. I think it's here. Privacy, search, and services. And then we scroll all the way down to the bottom. We click on address bar and search. From here, we've got search engine used in the address bar, and we've got Bing, Yahoo 7, Google, and DuckDuckGo. So this is obviously it's nice and easy, but let's go into manage search engines. And we've actually got all these things, and you can add your own custom search engines and stuff. The important stuff.
One thing that I'd add around that whole add your own search engine, if you've got an internal search crawler, this is where you can add your own, and it'll go and search that as the default.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, being Bing, it has the ability to go and search. Good to see you're interested in this one, Adam.
It's par for the course.
You can flick a switch and it'll go and search your M365 files, and you can actually search and return all that really rich information.
There is a policy that we can enable that in the ADMX policies as well. But so the important thing just to pay attention to this is that so previously, if you wanted to customize your default search engine, you would need to go in here on a machine and just pay attention to what the search engine's name was, the keyword, and this URL string, which is like, I can't zoom in on that, but that's huge, right? And it's basically just wildcard unexploded values that get replaced with your search terms so that you can search properly in the browser. So it was always just a pain because you need to go in and you need to copy that, and if you typed it wrong, it just didn't work and all that sort of stuff. So what we've now got, if we go in here and we'll just pop through, so we can pretty much set all of these settings. We'll just go default search provider keyword. And if we remember, it was google.com.
Yep.
And we just obviously set that to enabled. Default search provider name was Google. And and default search provider for search URL. So this is the real cool stuff that they've just added recently. So now they've got the actual code that you need in the comments or the description of the policy, which means that you don't need to remember this. You don't need to have it in a notepad file. You literally just go, okay, so I've got a couple of really common options. The first one is setting it to Bing. And the second one, which is, this is from community feedback, where a lot of people just do this by default because their customers want it. We can just go in here and we can just copy this.
Without the quotes.
Correct.
Yes, without the quotes. And the
Without
full
the quotes.
stop at the end.
That's
and it gives you the check to let you know you got it right.
Exactly. And then we just hit OK. Same deal here. You just grab this. And again, if we're not using Google, we can just grab the Bing one as well. It's really, really great that they've done this. And you've got example values. Yeah, if you want to customize, or if you've, as Steve said, if you've got your own internal what's it called? Spider search thing. You can edge crawler. There you go. So we'll just paste that there.
Donuts.
Enable default search provider.
Oh, you said crawler, not crueler. Okay.
Yeah. So this is also a real cool one. Parameters for an image URL. So image search as well. We can go in and we can set that to Google. So let's just grab this.
So another thing to just point out as you go through this is we're specifically talking about doing this in Intune for your Intune managed devices, but this is an ADMX template. This is the Edge group policy template, and it looks and acts the same way if you were to do this in group policy. So, hey, this video is how to configure group policies for Edge. Period. So,
exactly. Now this is the only setting that we don't need to set. By just generally. There would obviously be, and pardon the pun, edge cases where you would need to customize this encoding. But I have yet to find a scenario where UTF-8 is not just the standard.
Typically, that will be if you've got your own on-prem service that has been configured for some level of security or compliance.
Also, depending on your language and region. UTF-8, I don't think supports like the umlauts and the things like that. So
and it doesn't support right to left either.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where you would need to change that if you knew that you needed that information. This is where you go and change. But as a rule, I've found that this is actually the only setting that I don't need to configure. And then finally, we just set this new tab page search box experience, and I just leave it to recommended. We've got a couple of options, or two options. We've got search box or address bar. There was a fun little bug that came out in Edge a couple of months ago where if you had a custom or non-standard or non-Bing search and it was set to search box, it failed for about 2 days and it rapidly got fixed. So just be aware that, leave it at default, but if there's problems, they'll get noticed and they'll get rectified very quickly. Cool. So that's it. All right. So we've set up a whole bunch of things. Now, normally or previously, that was a real pain to set up because you needed to remember what all that information is. The image search stuff, that's not available to you. Even if you go into the settings and look at the customized, search options, they're not there. So you just needed to know them, or you needed to go to the search provider and find out that information. I think it's generally documented, but I always found it difficult to find that information. So I really, really appreciate that info's there, because now it's just a case of, just selecting which one you want, and we just go next. We're not going to put any scope tags, and then we'll assign it. Do we have a group?
Yeah.
Some.
All users, right?
Oh, yeah. Jake's Fancy Computers. We'll just do Intune sharing users. And again, this goes back to what I was saying. We're deploying this to users, but it's actually going to apply to the computer policy hive.
Perfect.
Cool. And we can see all that's done as well.
Awesome.
And create. The other important thing is that if you're like me, working in a space where you're probably going to need to do this for quite a few different clients, this is where you would start doing the more advanced stuff, and you would export the JSON template for this. Because the setting that the stuff that we just did to fix or change the search engine to Google is not going to change. So if you export that out and have that raw JSON file, it means you can import that to any tenant, and it's just going to be your standard, and you never need to go through and set that up again.
Exactly.
Cool. That's all I had. I just wanted to show how easy it was to set that up.
So before we part, if you watched that original video that we did, we built a machine and applied some policies to it, and I'm still waiting on them to sync. And as you've seen with other videos, we don't want to sit and wait and watch this machine sync to get the new stuff. However, you'll notice once your browser gets the policies, you will see this managed by your organization box at the bottom. And I don't think I can zoom it in that. Let's try. Yeah, that's actually better.
What you can also go view zoom in.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Anyway, you can. Oh yeah, that's right. That's why I did it like this one, so that there we go. Wow, that's way too much. Oh, I can't. The important
thing to point out while Adam's figuring out his zoom levels,
there we go.
Is that managed by your organization flag appears as soon as a single policy for Edge is applied.
And so what we've got is if I click that, because it's clickable, it tells you it's managed, and then it takes you to the cool Edge / policy, and it will show you the policies that are currently applied to your machine, and then you can even see the policies that are available that have not been set, and you can export this to JSON and put that on your desktop. And whoa, we've done this before. Look, see, look, in January we did this. So Steve, I think this is probably in that previous video. So you can still do it, but we can do reload policies, etc. But the really cool thing here is that you can use the browser to do all of these things. So Edge URLs, and then you can find all the other cool bits and pieces that are hiding in here. This is stuff that's existed in the Chrome browser for forever. I never used Chrome because I just didn't like having to manage another browser. But I'm fully jumped in on using Edge and love it. And so this is all new to me, but yay if this is old news. But yeah, that's it. So, well,
I think that covers off that session. And I think that's a really good session. It covers off a lot of stuff that is going to be asked by the community. Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it was okay.
Yeah, don't give me too much credit.
Sorry.
I mean, we did it already, but it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
All
right. Thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Bye. And Adam left us.
I think he clicked the wrong button.
And recording's still going.
The best part is the recording is still going.
Yeah.